Okay, hi everyone, good afternoon, and thank you for coming for this session. I hope you guys enjoyed the treat. We are going to talk about Zap. So how many of you have heard about Zap before? Okay, how many of you have used it? Okay, cool. So today we're going to have, so basically the topic says it all. So we're going to have a look at Zap in a snap. So first of all, I'm going to ask you guys this question. Have you guys been in some kind of sprint meeting or some kind of project meeting and worried about nobody talking about security? Any? Okay. Do you guys think security testing is important? Okay. So have you come across situations where then there's loads of security defects that's coming up? Cool. So, okay, so basically we're going to look at how we can use automated tests and do security testing. So this is basically the agenda for today. So I'm going to give you a brief idea about security testing and then why it should be included in your testing phase, and then an introduction to the basic Zap tool, and then demonstrations. Okay. So basically, security testing or security is basically for us to understand if our application is secure. Be it a web application, be it mobile, we want to make sure that our application is secure, right? So for that, we do or pretend to be a malicious attacker and try to understand what is the problems or what are the loopholes, so that we'll be able to either inform our developers or be able to fix it, so that we've already understood the issues in our system and we've come with some kind of solution. So Zap is a tool that will let you understand. So it's basically a basic penetration tool. And yes, so these are the types of security testing that usually is involved. So there's vulnerability scanning. So basically this is just to scan your application for all vulnerability issues, and then security scanning is also pretty much similar. Penetration testing is what exactly Zap does, but it's again, as I mentioned, it's an open source tool. So hence it does very basic penetration testing, and it'll be basically trying to do some malicious attacks on your system, or pretending to be a malicious attacker and trying to find out the issues in your application. Then there's also risk assessment. So basically for you to understand the risk, so basically you will be drawing a plan which will be giving you the risks and trying to analyze those risks. Then there's also security auditing. That's basically a basic security audit of your system. Then there's ethical hacking. So these are skilled people who will be literally trying to hack your system. So the word ethical means, yeah, you're giving them access and they will try to hack the system and try to get find the loopholes in your system. And then there is also posture assessment as well. Now, as I mentioned, Zap is going to be the dynamic application security testing tool, whereas there are other tools which are available in the market, which is not open source, which are basically static application testing tools. So what is the difference is that the static application testing tools go through code level, right? Whereas a dynamic application testing tool goes over, as in it tries to attack your system from outside, not through code level. So that's basically Zap. So when I'll be showing you the demonstrations, you'll be able to understand how actually Zap works. So yeah, so why do we need to have security testing, or at least in a frequent way? Because end of the day, we always do non-functional testing right at the end. Be it performance or security testing, we tend to think about it and worry about it right at the end. And that's kind of an issue, because we'll be having a major backlog. So yeah, there are paid tools that are static application testing tools that are available, but if we use something like Zap, and if it goes through, or if our application goes through basic testing like this in a frequent manner, then we'll be able to spot down the very obvious uh, uh, security issues. So basically, we all know that we want to gain the customer's trust, and that's how businesses run. So security has become a major impact with, or it has a major impact with that. And then there's also the like, as I mentioned, early stages when we find any kind of issue. So prevention is obviously better than cure. And then there is also a cost that will affect if in case there's some huge downtime. So we all understand that when there's a downtime and application is down for some time, then there's a lot of cost involved as well, or we lose a lot of money. So these kind of things are major factors that we need to think about security testing. So basically, this is the project. So it's known as the Open Web Application Security Project. So this is the community who has basically developed the Zed Attack Proxy, or the ZAP. So as in even we can contribute to their project. So it's basically a community project. So anyone who's interested can actually go to their site and see. So and it's basically open source. So these are the main functionality, sorry, main vulnerabilities that OWASP has found out, and they've made sure that these are the issues that, or the main aspects that they look at when they're doing the ZAP testing. So as I'll be showing a few of these testing manually, how we can test. So there's SQL injection. So it's basically trying to use some kind of SQL query and trying to inject it so that we'll be able to log in without any credentials or so on. Either you use it on your URL or into some particular input field. Same with cross-site scripting. So that's basically to find if like your HTML is broken and it's able to give out some values outside. Like if you put in a script in an input field or in a URL or something, you will be able to see some kind of information. So these kind of actions are one of the topmost. So these are the top two actually. And then there's cross-site request forgery. So this is basically if you have like a bank account and you're trying to transfer some cash or something, there is some CSRF tokens that are involved, let's say, as an example. Then you make a payment, there's some query parameters that have gone through, then you use the same CSRF token and try to make another payment or something of that sort. If it goes through, then yeah, then there is a problem. So these kind of basic functionalities can be spotted with the help of ZAP. So then there's also broken session where you can, in case you try to do some changes with your cookie data, or if it's getting refreshed, so on, and various other main, even there's also the insecure direct object. So again, you can try to change some values in your URL and try to find out if it's giving any kind of references. So let's quickly have a demonstration on the SQL injection. So this is basically, I've got a Docker image of a budget store. This is a very vulnerable site, and it's developed by the OWASP guys itself. So you will be able to spot your, like you can do it manually, and then even when you're using Zap for the first time, I recommend you can use this site, or there's also OWASP juice shop, which they've introduced recently. So you can use that as well. So this is basically me trying to do an SQL injection in, cross-site scripting in the search text box. So I'm literally giving to script tags and trying to get an alert out. So basically, as you can see that alert, so I just put the script tag and you can see the alert. So this is, it's broken HTML. So in the same way, I've used the uppercase script tag and tried to get an alert out of the contact us page over here. So this is again a type of cross-site scripting test. So yeah, you can see the alert. So the next thing I will be doing is an SQL injection. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to register as a user. So this site is so vulnerable that you can actually go access the admin page without even logging in. So I'm going to just register as hello@hello.com. And then I'll be going into the admin page. So as you can see, the user is already registered. So now I'm going to do an SQL injection. So I'm going to make the system understand like I've logged in without the password. So what I'm going to do is give the username and as in break the SQL query that you would probably be putting. That's through the code. And I'll be using the single quote or single quote 1, single quote equals single quote 1. So it literally takes it as one value. So as you can see, without the password, I've already logged in. Okay, so that is basically the basic vulnerabilities. So a small demo on that. So let's directly go into the Zed Attack Proxy. So this is basically a web application penetration tool. You can also use it for mobile browsers as well. There's also another tool that works directly with native applications that has just recently been introduced. I haven't had a look at it, but yeah, if you go to the OWASP Twitter page, they've given a demonstration on that as well. So this is basically, again, a very basic tool, and it's open source, but they've improved a lot. They had quite a few issues. So the current versions are much better. So these are the main features that we're looking at. So it basically does an active scan. So the reason I use the Docker image of the budget store and not on any of our sites is because active scan is literally like, so don't try it on different other or any different websites. So because it's literally like you can get into legal issues. So it's literally trying to do SQL injections and all sorts of functions as well. So then there is also passive scanner. So when you actually do a record, it literally does a passive scan. So I will be showing that to you as well. Then Spider is basically crawls through, like if you do a record, it then tries to find any of the hidden URLs, etc. And it does Spider as well. So let's quickly go into the initial setup and have a look at how we can use Zap. Okay. So this is basically the WASP page. So you'll have to download Zap directly from there. So I've already have it installed. So you can choose your sessions to be either saved with the current name, you can persist it, or you can also choose to save it in a particular name that you want, and so on. So there's also, we can also choose the type of tests that we are going to run, so we can add them so that we will be able to see the calls, etc. And then this is basically me setting up the local host 8080 so that it'll be able to access, Zap will be able to access through that. And I'm going to generate the certificate. So basically, when you generate the certificate, you'll be able to put it. So I'm going to use the Firefox. So ideally, I'll have to go into my certificate manager and import that certificate as well. Okay, so I've changed it to as you can see, soon we'll be getting the Docker image of the budget store, and we'll be able to start running tests or basically navigating to the system. So yeah, this is basically me getting the Docker image. Okay. So yes, so we've going to literally start running just or navigating through the system. So I'm just going to do another registration, etc. So same time, this, because we've obviously given the Zed the access to the browser, it will be recording all this functionalities, or sorry, URLs, etc. So I'm just scrolling through the whole, going through basic functionalities, giving access to the system, also Zap. So as you can see, it has done a basic passive scan, and it has identified a few issues. So with alerts, and you'll be able to see a more descriptive version of alerts. So you can even double click on that and also have a look at it. So it gives the priority of whether it's medium or low, etc. So you'll be able to understand. So as you can see, the tags are also mentioned. So anti-CSRF, all these tags are mentioned. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to do a test. So I'm going to say this is the starting point. So I'm going to start with budget store, and I'm going to start the scan. So literally it's, so this is Spider. So it's going to crawl through whatever I've given or recorded, and it's going to automatically crawl through other URLs that are accessible as well. Meanwhile, it'll be doing some scanning or tests. So as you can see, more alerts have come up. So there's like a password autocomplete issue that has been spotted as well. Also, there are functionalities where you can exclude a particular call, like because you want to stick to a particular session, then you can right click and exclude it from log out, as in from this particular test, like passive scan or scanner or something of that sort. So I'll just show that to you. So you can exclude it from Spider, etc. So I'm going to do an active scan. Yes. So since we were able to spot some alerts before, let's see, there's more alerts that have been popped out, so we can figure out that there's also an SQL injection in the basket section as well. So it's a high priority issue. And also you can save your sessions, as I mentioned. So if you want to save a snapshot of your session, you can use it. Sometimes some people create already existing sessions, and they load that session when they do their Jenkins, when they use the Zap Jenkins plugin. So I'll be showing that to you later. So that's basically the doing a manual test with Zap. So it literally does automatic scans, but you will have to be accessing the website. So next we'll look at how do we use automated tests with Zap. So we obviously we use Selenium to traverse through the application, do our regression tests, etc. Meanwhile, we can also give Zap the access to do its security testing. So we'll just have a look at how we can incorporate both Zap and Selenium together and do a basic test. Right? Okay, so basically, I've opened the Zap. So I'm going to go into tools for those who didn't see in the previous video. So I've given the localhost proxy. I've also disabled the API key. So this is because I'll have to mention the API key when Selenium is trying to access the browser. So because of that, I've disabled the option and it'll work without that. But when you really want to do sophisticated tests, I suggest they use the API key as well. So this is basically very basic Selenium tests. I'm trying to just log in, register as a user, try to add some items to my basket as well. So you can see that I've basically done a setup, and then it's navigating. So it's doing those functionalities. And then basically what I'm trying to do is trying to get the assertion with the amount of alerts. So we are obviously expecting a zero security effect tolerant system, but it will give us a particular amount of alerts. So I'm gathering those alerts, and it'll be basically giving an assertion with those alerts. So these are the scan IDs. So this is basically available on the OWASP or the Zap page. Basically, if you want to do a cross-site scripting, you want to do SQL injections, etc., you'll be able, if you specify those scan IDs, then it'll do that particular test. So that's basically what it does with the Zap proxy. So as I mentioned, yeah, so these are I've not given all of them, but a few of the IDs. So I'm going to also, as I mentioned, exclude the logout URL, right? And yeah, the Zap proxy host, the proxy port, etc. And also in my POM XML, I'm giving the dependencies for Zap, the client API, and the Zap Java API. So obviously I've got the Chrome browser. So previously you guys would have seen me use the Firefox. So this is the Chrome browser. So we're going to do, this is the previous test I've done. So we'll soon be running the test. So you'll be able to see that the browser will open and start. So basically what you will be doing manually, what we just did a while ago, is what Selenium is going to do for us. And then Zap does the rest of the work. Yeah, so the browser's opened and you'll be able to see that you'll be traversing through, like trying to register, etc. So what we actually did manually previously. Well, not the similar thing, but I mean the similar thing, but not the same thing. So this is also somewhat of an attack. So we actually try to enter kind of like a string value instead of an integer as well. So basically we went to that basket so that we be able to give access to Zap for those kind of URLs as well. Sorry, this can takes quite some time. So yeah, as you see, this is a spider, so it has found this particular URL, etc. So it's you can see it in the log. And as I mentioned, so this is what we expected to see, 0 alerts, but we can see a couple of alerts over there. And those alerts are mentioned here. So cross-site scripting in the search page, and then there's SQL injection in the login page, etc. So those details have been mentioned. So same with the other test as well. So yeah, same kind of behavior, but then different issues have been spotted. Okay. So basically, next we're going to talk about the Zap Jenkins plugin. So this works. Um, so it works as a new. There are two plugins. So there's the latest plugin that is available. So you can either use to load a session, or you can use to persist a session. So I'm going to use persist, but load a session is basically you will have to create a build, and in the workspace you'll have to put in a particular session data, but that's not actually recommended. Whereas you give the access to for special reasons you might want to do it, but basically it's preferred if you persist the sessions. So you will have to give a few details, and you have the choice of running spider, Ajax spider, so if it's an Ajax related site, and then there is active scan as well, and then you will be able to get certain reports. So this is the idea. You'll be able to also create your bugs or give the access to the plugin to create issues on Jira. So let's quickly have a look at that demonstration. Okay, so yeah, this is Jenkins. And first of all, I'm going to set up my Zap home. So I'm going to go oh, sorry. First of all, I'm going to create my plugins or get my plugins, which is already there actually. So I'm going to get the Zap plugin first. So don't take that plugin if you're using the latest version. So use the official OWSP Jenkins plugin, because the other one is quite outdated. So it doesn't work with the latest versions. Then I'm using the HTML publisher plugin, obviously, for us to see the reports at the end. And I'm going to configure the Zap Proxy home, and I'm going to get the Zap Proxy home. So I'll be getting this path, which I've already put it there. And then I'm going to create a new item. So you can choose freestyle project. Yeah, so this is if you're loading your own session, then you'll have to create a workspace, etc. So you'll have to build now. So basically, I have already created this a build. So let's have a look at that. So, sorry, Jenkins job. And as you can see, so you'll have to have your Zap client installed if you're doing it in this particular way. So again, a quick check. So yes, it's localhost 8888. So I'm going to go into my Jenkins and into my Jenkins job, and I'm going to specify the JDK to inherit from the job, the Zap Proxy home, and a Zap home directory. So as I mentioned, you can also load sessions, but I'm going to choose to persist. And I'm going to mention the session properties. So I'm going to say include in this context, and I'm going to give regex of all the URLs, then exclude the logout, and then generate a report with my build ID, etc. So I'm mentioning a starting point, then I'm specifying I need a spider scan, active scan, etc. And then I want these formats of the report. Then obviously, I'm sure many of you know how to use the HTML report publisher plugin. Okay, so we're going to build and run the build, and yeah, be able to see. So the initialization, etc., has gone forward, so you can see it in the logger. Okay. So it's doing a few passive scans meanwhile. And then finally, so I gave a specific URL to start with, so the test will run quickly. But you can obviously give the list of specify those URLs so that you'll be able to have a more persisting session. So you'll be able to see the issues that it has found or the alerts, and then certain details regarding those issues as well. Okay, and it also mentions that there's high, etc. So you'll be able to get the XML as well, which is not so pretty as the HTML. And the obviously the Jenkins log as well. Okay, so we've had a look at the main or the very basic functionalities of Zap, how we can use it manually or understand the tool, and then move into how we can make it usable with Selenium, and then obviously with Jenkins. So maybe we can start taking some baby steps, because end of the day security is quite key, and maybe find a few issues of this sort which will be helpful so that our system or our application doesn't get affected or get attacked. So hopefully, I hope this session was helpful. So let's go back and start finding those nasty bugs. And these are the sources that I've used. And thank you. If you guys have any questions.